Hi, we're making an exception today. We normally film using a steady camera. Today we're talking on an iPhone. We're being filmed on an iPhone, which is being held by Mark Gostowski of Pixis. Thanks, Mark. And we're filming on the iPhone because I'm sitting here with Anthony Agius of MacTalk.com.au. And you may or may not have heard the story, but when the iPad was released, what did you do, Anthony?
I went to New York just to get an iPad.
Jumped on the plane, flew to New York,
yes.
But you didn't just get one iPad, did you?
I got 20, between me and my friend, we got 20 to bring back to nerds back in Australia who really wanted them.
And you weren't allowed to buy more than two in any shop?
No.
So you got around that by...
We went to each, there's 4 in Manhattan, we went to each one, so we got 4 from each one, and then we went back to the first one who didn't recognise us, and we got 4 from there, and then we ran the money on our cards so we couldn't get any more.
Is that like fake moustaches and wigs and...
Anthony H just... I'm buying more iPads, but yeah, they didn't tweak for that, so...
Now the iPads are out in Australia on Friday, well no, is it Saturday?
On Friday.
On Friday this week?
The 28th.
The 28th of May. This is what we have here. For some people it's the first look of what they're going to look like. I don't know if people can see what they look like there, but there's things like there's the mitchellake.com website there. Have a look at the Anthill, of course, .com website. But I thought it would be good to talk about some of the ways that people are likely going to be using the iPad to create products to effectively monetize. This is our homepage. Doesn't that look beautiful? I don't know if you can see it on the iPad, but it does look nice. We had a quick peek before at was it the New York Times?
New York Times.
Can I have a look at that as well? Where's that?
Yep.
Interestingly, with the New York Times here, it doesn't run down the page. When it loads up, it runs across the page. That's how you go about looking at articles from the New York Times. And if you want to have a look at an article, you touch it. Interestingly, I did notice before the way that they embedded their ads. I wonder if we can find an ad.
Put it on this page, yeah.
What should I try and do, do you think?
There's an ad on the homepage for starters.
Ad on the homepage for starters.
You can get any article.
But I went and had a look at an article before.
There you go. This is a big...
Oh, that's a big ad within it.
Yeah.
But I noticed that an ad also came up and sort of like
a full page.
A full page ad as well too, which was quite interesting. Did interrupt the flow slightly, but brought the ad up. We also had a look at some books. We went into the bookshop here. Interestingly, we've got the bookshelf.
Just good to look.
Let's choose. Was it Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, that comes with every phone, every iPad. It's their demonstration one.
Oh, it does. Oh, Winnie the Pooh, right? We wrote a post earlier on the week about the Monthly's plans to release their magazine in an iPad edition, and they talked quite a lot about this sort of functionality where you can change the font or the size of the text and whatever it is that you're reading. But effectively, this here is just standard edition in the
bookstore.
In the iPad bookstore.
Yeah, or it's they call it the iBookstore, which is part of the iTunes store.
Right, okay. Of course.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking before about things that we can do to monetize products that we might be producing as business owners for the iPad. You were talking about producing some of your content for specific iPad editions, but you had you had a different way. You weren't just going to throw up your regular content into an iPad. You're going to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, because the regular content on my site works fine on the Safari in the browser. Like you've seen, Anthill was fine. Yeah. There's really no need. Like, why would you pay for content that looks perfectly fine in a web browser? So what I think is content that we more in-depth reading kind of stuff, like a book or a long-form articles, really take hold on the device, which is really well suited to read.
And in terms of the logistics, so you turn around and you say, okay, I'm going to produce something a little bit differently for the iPad. You might choose some longer articles, which is what the Monthly was talking about, 3,000 word pieces, which you also wrote about that on your blog, but I questioned whether an iPad would be appropriate for the logical partner to the Monthly. You came to an opposite conclusion, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought that would be great. I mean, yeah, it's what I want to read on the iPad, because I subscribe to the Monthly, I read it back to cover almost. And I want that on my iPad to read.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, to replace.
Because we're talking about long-form journalism.
Yeah.
And long-form journalism is blogs are always criticised and online websites are often criticised for not providing long-form journalism. Yeah. So you're looking at producing long-form journalism. The logistics of it, once you create something, are you looking at creating a unique designed ebook for each one, or is it more about preparing an app that you'll progressively add to?
Well, the thing is, with Apple's iBook store, you can't actually change the design. They look all the same. So for a magazine which would pride itself on the way it looks, like Wired, for example, which is so well designed, people buy it just to look at the
it's a beautiful
design.
thing.
You can't do that on the iBook store.
Right.
So to do that, you have to make your own application and then make your own way of bringing the content into the app.
And then but if you were to do that, you would have to submit a book every time you wanted to produce a book, and then you'd have to wait 3 weeks for the people at Apple to approve it, and then it would be available.
Not necessarily. The first application, the application which would suck down the content from your server, that would happen once, and you have to wait for Apple to approve that application. But each time you make content for that application, the application just gives that itself whenever you.
So you're just refreshing it with new content all the time.
Yes.
Which was really different to what I first thought about. When I first thought about the iPad, I thought people would be producing books. You'd turn around and spend $19.95 on my ebook. It sounds like what is likely to happen is that you'll probably create a subscription, and then you might subscribe for $10 or $20 a month or whatever it's going to be, and be assured that new, fresh content is going to be added to that the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're writing a 1,000-word book, definitely you would publish that to the iBook store because it's a book. But if there's something that's going to be updated every month, week, that kind of magazine kind of content, that would definitely have to be an application, not a book.
What are the New York Times doing?
The New York Times, what they've made, that's a HTML5 site. So all these are just a website, but designed specifically for the iPad, because they know the screen resolution, they know what it can and can't do. You don't have to worry about IE5 won't support this or things like that.
This is a free version specifically supported by advertising.
Yes.
So whoever is advertising Chase Sapphire is paying for effectively this.
Yes.
Do they have a more advanced version that then people will pay for?
When they first announced the iPad, the New York Times had the full paper, but when it came out, they only released this kind of select content for free. So the idea was you pay $30 a month as you pay for the paper version and get it. At the moment, they haven't had any plans to do that, which sucks.
When I heard that, and I actually heard when the New York Times were going to release it, or maybe it was the Wall Street Journal, I'm not quite sure. One of them was going to release it, and it was more expensive than the print edition.
Yeah, I think that was the Wall Street Journal. Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal, and I could just imagine that the competitor, being the New York Times, would just perhaps try and do a deal with Steve Jobs and say, okay, why don't we have it naturally come with every edition of the iPad, and then make all their money from advertising. They'd just knock the Wall Street Journal out of the water.
Yeah, well, the interesting is the Australian, which is another News Corp paper, on the 28th, when it comes out in Australia, it's going to be the second News Corp paper to actually pay for your content. So it'll be, I think they said it'll be $3 a month. So $3 a month.
$3 a month
to subscribe to it. Compared to what you pay for it in print would be, $1.50 a day.
A day, yeah.
So there'll be ads in it, of course, but that's an interesting model for the Australian, particularly because they're an Australian paper, not a worldwide one. So it's very interesting to see how that pans out with their audience. So
that will be on the weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Anthony. This has been really interesting. We'll be watching with interest the impact that something like this will have on the media industry, and also small businesses, which were becoming more and more knowledge providers and content providers. Who knows? Small businesses could be the next media barons.
I hope so.
Thanks, Anthony.
Nice, thank you.
Cheers. Signing off.